red, folks. Low 60s is
winter
cold.
again. It's winter.
Winter. We are in April.
Could have some
It is
hot
officially
tonight's movie.
spring.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the book club for movies. I'm so sorry. I'm going to yawn a lot today. It's just one of those days. It is not Thursday. Today's Wednesday, April 21st. It is the 5-year anniversary of Prince's passing, which is why I'm wearing, well, not that I ever need an excuse to wear my Prince things, because I have lots of Prince things. But yeah, but that is not who we will be talking about today. We will be talking about 2-time Oscar winner Vivien Leigh and all the craziness that was her life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but Samir, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm still a little tired from my shop, but otherwise okay. Drinking my homemade strawberry lemonade in my Hello Kitty cafe bottle.
Samir is fully vaccinated now.
I am. I can't wait to have another fully vaccinated person over. Wait, Luke said there was snow in Chicago in April.
Yeah, well, to quote Prince, sometime it snows in April. Yeah, it was snowing a lot in the Midwest, upper Midwest, last few days. Yeah, I have a friend in Wisconsin. It was snowing there, and I'm sure it was snowing in Minneapolis too. Yeah. Hey guys.
Sad.
Yeah.
The days for snow are over.
Sometimes it snows in April. Sometimes I feel so sad.
Never in San Diego, though.
Yes. Before we talk about Vivien Leigh, yesterday we talked about director Ron Howard and his Oscar-winning film, A Beautiful Mind. This won Best Picture. Ron Howard won Best Actor. Oh my God. Best Director. Jesus, guys. I'm sorry. It's just going to be one of those days. He won Best Director and Best Picture. He won an Oscar for Best Producer. I absolutely love this film. I think this is still, it's been years since I've seen this, and I continue to be blown away by Russell Crowe's performance in this. Compared to other things that I've seen him in recently, I kind of forget just like how much he transforms himself in this, just physically, just like the way, I don't know, everything with his face and everything. He just completely became this character. So I love this movie. This was a first viewing for Samir, and he did not have high expectations. So what'd you think, Samir? Here we go. Here we go.
So this is one of the worst Best Picture Oscar winners I've ever seen.
No!
This is like on the level of Crash for me. That's how bad this movie was. Like everything. Like Jennifer Connelly did not deserve an Oscar for this movie. So bland. The whole movie is just so conventional and predictable, and just everything about it skims the surface. Like never gets beneath it. Like it's just so bad. It was excruciating to sit through this movie. I just kept praying it would end. Like that's how much I did not enjoy this movie. Like not at all convinced by any of the actors in this film that they were anything close to the characters they were playing. Like his group of mathematician friends, and just like, I already do not believe any of this. Just right away.
Let's talk about Vivien Leigh.
Sorry, yeah, it was really bad.
I absolutely love this movie. I had a feeling Samir was going to rip it apart. I think comparing it to Crash was a low blow, and
but the honest statement from my perspective, it just I know that you don't like Crash either.
Did you like the score? Did you like the music in it? The music.
I liked like the first notes of the score. The very first notes of the score were like, it almost gave promise of a more interesting movie than was actually delivered. So I appreciated that moment, but yeah, I did not buy a lot of this, and then of course knowing like the actual story, it was like, so wait, hold on, see, I found a lot of reviews. There's a lot of reviews that are good, a lot of reviews that are not good. It's kind of like people were like evenly split. It was either they thought it was really bad or they thought it was really great.
Like
and so one of the reviews that I found was like, okay, when I read this about the actual person, it makes me hate this movie even more. And they're like, see where they were talking about the biographical book that was written about John Nash. And they're saying, the person who's reviewing it said, I was flabbergasted at how the movie had changed or expunged virtually everything that might have given us the true historical and psychological texture of Nash's life. I wouldn't expect Howard to show Nash's conversations with poet Robert Lowell when they hung out together in a Boston mental institution. Still, I do have to wonder how any filmmaker could choose to leave out, among other things, the fact that Nash's delusions involved space aliens, not communists, that his paranoia was fed when his math mentors were hassled by McCarthyites, that he tried to renounce his U.S. citizenship, that he had several homosexual relationships but always denied that he was homosexual, that he had a mistress who bore him an illegitimate son, that he was arrested in Santa Monica for indecent exposure, that the loyal Alicia actually divorced him and remarried him several years later, that his legitimate son John also fell into madness, that he viewed the regaining of his sanity as something of a mixed blessing because it also diminished his genius.
I mean, that would have been a very different movie, to be sure.
But that was the movie that's the story of this person's life. So it's like, oh my God, so you had this person's life and you had all of this material for a movie and you cut all of that out so you could make this very predictable paint by numbers picture where this first time you see Russell Crowe try to twitch and do his finger thing to his forehead. I'm like, okay, how long is it going to be before he's dragged kicking and screaming in the nut house? And I was like, okay, it's about 40 minutes.
Russell Crowe is good in this. I will stand by that till the end. Anthony, I still think you should watch this and see for yourself. Like Samir was just saying, this is a very divided film as far as opinions go, not just with Samir and I, but it looks like other people too. I think it's worth watching for the acting. Samir doesn't think so, but I think so. As I was telling, Samir and I talked about this a lot yesterday with each other about how much there was left out as far as the actual story goes. And I guess I don't watch this movie like that. This movie could be 100% fictional, which it sounds like it almost is. And I still enjoy watching it. However, if you do take into consideration the real life of these people, yeah, I can see how it's a bit of a problem.
You know, there was I remember when the movie came out, I was looking this up too, and some of the critics were saying that, you know, at first they were really billing this as, we're telling this man's story. That's how they were selling this movie to critics, to audiences. And then critics started saying, yeah, I've actually read the book. This is kind of an insulting simplification of his entire life and misrepresents how his actual symptoms from this illness. So while it's nice that there's a movie that shows a person with a mental illness succeeding and overcoming something, you know, you don't tell anybody that this is very unlikely for anybody who has this mental illness to do what he did.
That is also something that I kind of thought from watching this too, where, I mean, mental illness, no matter, you know, what the particular diagnosis is, it affects everyone differently. You know, with different degrees of severity and things of that nature. But I did get the sense that I didn't want some people to watch this and be like, oh, so he just chose not to entertain these delusions and now he's okay. That doesn't, you know, whether that is what actually happened to him or not and how he was able to handle it, I'm sure that doesn't work for everyone who has.
Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
You know, but it would have been nice to see a little bit more of that. I just felt like they kind of, like every element of the story was like, this felt like Oscar bait, pure and simple to me. So it was like every part of the story was like they were following a signpost on the path to an Oscar. You know, like, okay, we have to get the like crazy person moment here. We have to get the brilliant genius moment here. We have to get the effect on the family. It's like, it's kind of like, how do we encapsulate everything into one digestible piece of information? And to do that, they kind of, like you said, you have to sort of sand off all of the rough edges and corners that make the story interesting to just create this sort of very spare, thing left in its place. But I couldn't do it. I was like, okay, well, maybe I will, like, I go into it, I'm like, maybe I'll be completely wrong. And I'll just be like so overcome by this experience that like I won't care about it. But I did care about it. I was like, I was just like, I can't. I kept getting so mad. I was like, really? This is what you're doing here? Okay. I was just like, it just felt like every touch I expected. And this film was photographed by Roger Deakins,
who we love.
I expected it to look a lot better for a movie directed by or photographed by Roger Deakins. It seemed very tame and visually kind of dull.
Oh, see, I liked it. I liked a lot of the shots that were included in this.
I was so it was not a great experience to watch this film. I wouldn't say that I was offended by it, but
I still stand by our choice because, no matter what your opinion of it is, fact of the matter is that it did win Best Picture. And if you are someone who's interested in Oscar trivia, I mean, there were certainly many pictures or things that won Best Picture where we're like, really? But I watch them anyway just to say that I've seen them. And so now, Samir, you could say that you've seen this movie, and sounds like you never have to watch it again.
I definitely will. Well, it also confirms that I was right in my decision to not watch it. I was not surprised by anything. So it was exactly the kind of movie I expected it to be, which was a disappointment. I expected it to be terrible, and I watched it and I thought it was terrible. But it was interesting that they tried to sell it as the story of John Nash. And then when they got called out on it, they're like, well, actually, we're just trying to give you an idea of what it feels like to be a schizophrenic. And I'm like, okay, the writer of Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, I guess you are the source that I would go to give me that picture in a screenplay. No, you are clearly not the person I would trust with that job. Mostly because they rely a lot on visual hallucinations, and most schizophrenics, including John Nash, only had auditory hallucinations. Very rarely were there any visual hallucinations. So the idea that he kept seeing like regular people throughout a long period of his life as like actual people he thought were in his life, that didn't add up for me. So it was like, and I love Paul Bettany in that role, actually. I think he was the only actor that I didn't hate in this movie. And I was like, oh, and so he's supposed to be this fake person.
Plummer.
No, it was very like, again, another predictable performance. I think comes down to director. It's really like everyone's kind of directed to be bland and uninteresting in this movie. And Paul Bettany's like really the only one who like had a real character like going in this film. And then he was the character who didn't exist. Well, it was a funny irony as I watched it.
Still strongly stand by Russell Crowe's performance in this, I think. But I mean, it also just comes down to Samir. I don't think you've ever liked him in anything. So that going in right there is going to be a problem. But him being one of my absolute favorites, I love him in this. Please check it out. If you haven't seen this movie, see what you think for yourself. Maybe you'll love it. Maybe you'll hate it. Anthony's also asking, is Cinderella Man good? It's been a while since I've seen it. That also was nominated for a lot of things. That's another Russell Crowe, Ron Howard.
It's also written by the same screenwriter.
I prefer A Beautiful Mind for what I remember, but I do think it's worth watching. But I'm of the opinion that most movies are worth watching, if anything, just to see that you don't like it. But please check this out. It's available on Peacock. See what you think. See if you're on Team A Beautiful Mind. Opinion
that I don't have time to just watch every movie, whether it's good or bad. I'm going to just with my time.
But like,
I would much rather spend it watching.
I can always find something that I like about a movie. There's never a movie that I 100% hate. I'm always able to find like, well, I did like this person's performance in it, or this shot was cool. I can always find something, and maybe that's just me being a little ray of sunshine, seeing the good.
Well, I think it's different than how much time. Granted, Amy, when you've had another 10 years on your life, you're not going to think, oh, I'll just watch everything and it doesn't matter. You're going to start putting limits on your time, and you're going to start realizing, you know what? That movie looks like crap, and I am going to choose to watch the movie that I want to see today because I have time for one. So I'm going to pick the one I think will be better.
I'm not going to go into a movie being like, oh, I'm just going to watch this because I think it looks like crap. It's more like, say, if I don't know, I'll watch movies. Like if we watch movies that are part of this, there have been very few movies that I've actually have stopped watching because they were so bad.
Wait, there was a movie you stopped watching because it was so bad?
The one,
which one was it? Now I'm curious which one it was. I gotta know.
Let me look it up.
Was it like a while back or was it recent?
Kind of recent. It was one I was very surprised. Oh, The Sisters Brothers, the one with Joaquin Phoenix and John C. Reilly. I stopped watching it. I was like halfway through, and I was like, I just realized that I'm not even paying attention to what's going on in this movie. I have absolutely no interest in it. And I stopped watching it. And those are actors that I really enjoy. Daredevil is bad. But see, it's like, sometimes it's like, I watched it once to understand that I don't need to watch it again.
But see, that's the thing. I think my experience has given me enough knowledge to be able to look at trailers of movies and tell if it's a movie that I'm going to enjoy or if it's a movie that I'm not going to enjoy.
Colin Farrell in it, so I had to watch it.
Yeah, I know. You have different rules. If it doesn't matter if you think the movie's going to be good or bad, if it has someone that you like, you want to support that artist so that they keep getting work and they'll keep making movies. And that's what you want to see, is a world with more movies with that person. I do think that it happens to me too, that sometimes when we love actors, we will just
Love is Blind.
Look past a lot of things in a movie.
Oh yeah,
and every little thing that maybe to someone else, you know, like for someone who hates like Zooey Deschanel, like a Zooey Deschanel performance is going to be painful. But for someone who loves Zooey Deschanel, they're just kind of look past any little flaws in the way they perform or the sameness in some performances because they like her. And so there are definitely people like that in my life where it's like I will make allowances for bad choices just to enjoy a movie.
Very bad movies to see some actors that I like.
Me too. I think every movie lover has done that. Yeah. Whether it's an actor or a director, you know, like I just love this person. I'm still gonna own this movie, even if I don't think it's good. Like, even if, you know, but it will also help us think more of the films that they make are good because we like them. But there will be ones that are just bad, and we're like, I'm still gonna have it. Like Star Wars fans who still buy Phantom Menace. You know, like
I love Phantom Menace.
But lots of Star Wars fans I knew hated like they really hated it, but they went and saw it 4 times.
No,
because it was a Star Wars movie, and they hated it every time. But they saw it 4 times. They bought it on video and DVD. They bought the toys and the and they hated it, but they still bought everything.
Phantom Menace has some. See, that's me too. It's like I see the good in it, where I'm like, okay, maybe Phantom Menace overall had some issues in it, but there were some scenes in that movie that were just like so amazing.
So bad. There's some good and then some that were so bad.
There were so many good scenes in it that made up for the bad stuff. Anthony's we can talk about bad movies all day.
What's the worst movie you've seen?
Oh God, I don't even know.
That's a tough choice. There's, you know, my list is obviously longer, but I've also seen a lot more movies than most people, and there are too many movies that it's hard. Like I can't name one best movie and I can't name one worst movie, but there are just some movies that are, you know, terrible. Like the original Reefer Madness film is a terrible film. It's not even really enjoyable on a camp level once you become an adult. It's just boring, incredibly boring. It's so bad. Hands down, movie 43. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to trust you.
I didn't see, that was a comedy that had like every big actor ever in it. Yeah, that was just panned universally. All right, let's move on. Name that movie.
Oh, it's Name the Movie time. Okay, yeah. You said today's choices would be a little tougher?
No.
They're really easy.
This first one, if you don't get this, you, like when we had Citizen Kane on here, you have no business watching our show, okay? And I guarantee you Samir is going to get this from the first image.
Okay, you say that, but now I'm not going to get.
No, I guarantee
Now I'll be like, what?
this. All right, here we go. Here's the first image. Oh, wait.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yep. Look how easy this is, Samir.
Yeah, this one, yeah, you're right. But you never, sometimes you think that when you look at it, but then I'll surprise you, I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. But no, this one's obvious. This one should give it away to everybody.
Yeah, if you guys don't get this, you need to reevaluate your life. Look how easy this is.
It's got like every major thing that happens in the movie, like that one. Okay, if you don't know it from that, there are problems.
Like, they give you the whole movie.
It gives you it does. Every big thing that happens.
There we go. All yes, right. Psycho.
Luke got it. Luke got it.
All right. Good job. Now, this next one, I actually didn't get this. I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, we did this movie a few months ago. Yeah. So here we go. Here's our other one. But that was also, I still have only seen this movie once, even though.
Oh, I know what this is. Mostly because of the name in that first image.
Even though we watched
no mean Machiavelli is smiling, cynical Sydney kid.
In February, I've only seen it one time, so I didn't recognize everything.
I love that name too. C.K. Dexter Haven. Well, this movie has the name of a state in its title.
A city.
Or a city. And it's directed. Well, we haven't covered this director yet, actually.
No, we did this for a Friday back in February, so it's a romance.
Like a screwball comedy type movie. There we go. Luke got it.
Good job, Luke. 2 for 2. Yes, Philadelphia.
Well done.
Ooh, tomorrow's is fun. I'll have to wait till tomorrow to see that. All right. Thank you guys for playing.
Sleepless in Seattle.
Nope. But I see we were going with the romance and city. That's
true. Those clues can get, I didn't realize how many titles could come up from giving those clues out, but that's a good point. But here we are.
Vivien Leigh, actress of stage and screen, 2-time winner for Best Actress. She won for Gone with the Wind, which looks like Luke doesn't like in the comments. That's not the movie that we picked. However, that is a phenomenal film, although has become a little problematic. But we picked her other Oscar-winning role, which is A Streetcar Named Desire. That is what we have picked for today. She was born November 5th, 1913. She was actually born in India, British India, as the Wikipedia page put it. She lived there for a few years and then was sent off to boarding school, basically. In England, she kind of bounced around different schools in Europe. She learned fluent French and fluent Italian. Became interested in acting pretty early on and fortunately had supportive parents. Her dad was like, all right, we're sending you to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. That is where she met her first husband, who she was married to for 8 years.
Longer than I thought.
Well, they weren't together for a few years with that. But anyway, she started acting in theater. Her first little role on film was the movie Things Are Looking Up. She was just kind of like a featured extra in that. she met Laurence Olivier in 1935. They began working together and began an affair. Yeah, and he was married, she was married. They had to kind of keep it hush hush for several years, but as soon as both their spouses eventually granted them a divorce, even though they knew about this affair for years, but for some reason we're like, now you'll get over it or something, they got married. And they were married for 20 years until they got divorced. Eventually made it over to Hollywood. Her, of course, career-making role was as Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. This is one that she famously was like, "This is my role."
And it was a role that there was like a, Gone with the Wind was like the Titanic of its day, where it had a very long, protracted pre-production, tons and like every single movie magazine was covering like the search for Scarlett O'Hara. There was like this huge nationwide search for the perfect actress to play Scarlett O'Hara, and many actresses were up for it. Betty Davis famously thought that she should get it, and when she was basically eliminated pretty early from consideration for it because she is not the kind of like iconic beauty that they really wanted for the role, I think. And also they didn't think that she could play a Southerner like this role quite convincingly. Even though she's from the North, she thought she was still the right person. But then she ended up doing Jezebel the year before, but another fiery Southern dame who scandalously wears a scarlet red dress to an event and is branded publicly for her behavior. And yeah, it's like basically her Scarlett O'Hara role because she didn't get this role. But she was not the first choice because she, a lot of people wanted a Southern woman to play Scarlett O'Hara.
And
they didn't want someone who wasn't. And it was really by happenstance that she got introduced she had a very good agent who had connections to Selznick and basically just introduced her to him. And Selznick just, I think, got a sense right away that she might have what they need. And so people were pissed when she got this role at first. It wasn't until the movie came out that everyone was like, okay, you made the right choice.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I certainly can't picture anyone else playing this role. I read that she said something like she wanted this role, but she didn't think that Laurence Olivier should get Rhett Butler. But she's like, but I'm getting this role. I'm getting it.
And she was right.
Yes, this is my role. She and Clark Gable were just perfect in that. I absolutely love that movie. But it's one that, again, people have they've had
very problematic.
Yeah, there are certainly some problematic things in it. There are some really good things that came out of it, though, as far as it is very long. It's like it's over 3 hours.
It's almost 4 hours long.
Yeah.
But that makes her accomplishment, I think, all the more impressive. Like the character of Scarlett O'Hara is just that is one of the great screen roles for an actor of male or female, because she carries that entire movie on her shoulders. Her character has so many different things happening. She's also like a very feisty, like she's not a typical heroine. She's very selfish, but she's very driven and determined and has, she will protect the people in her circle as fiercely as she will protect herself, as long as she believes that she will be protected somehow too. It's a really fascinating, brilliant role, and it was not an easy feat to pull that role off. I mean, she had to do so much work as an actor in that film, and it all looks easy and effortless. You never doubt her for a second. Like it's a really gargantuan accomplishment, that performance that she gave in that film. So, I mean, if she had only ever made that one movie, I think she would have been famous for life. Whether she, if she devoted the rest of her life to stage, we would all still know the name Vivien Leigh from that movie and that performance. That's how good it was for me.
Agreed. Yeah, if anything, it's worth watching just for her. There are a lot of good things about that movie as far as what that movie did for Black actors as far as the production goes, and of course got the first Black woman to win Best Supporting Actress for it. So, it's one of those things where I don't know, I was kind of upset when people were talking about like, we have to cancel Gone with the Wind. It's like, we have to learn things like this. We have to learn, and I don't know.
But it is also very difficult to watch if you are descended from African Americans who were slaves, and then you watch this movie that everybody loves where all the slaves are happy to be slaves, and there's no hint anywhere of what the life of a slave actually was.
Yeah,
you know, it's a very glamorized,
I'm of the
unrealistic
opinion that we
view.
should watch movies like that and learn from it. Learn why that is not a accurate portrayal, learn why that is problematic and offensive, and don't do it again. Don't, I just, I'm not a fan of
Don't depict slavery
erasing.
this way on screen again, like ever.
Yes. Yeah, but there are a lot of other good things about it too. If people read about the history, I don't know. I'm always defending this.
But that was really the reason that she became. I mean, even though her movies after it were not really big hits like that.
No,
if that movie was such a huge success that her name is still in everyone's mind, regardless of how much money the movie she made immediately after made.
Yeah, and really, I mean, she worked with Laurence Olivier many times on in theater and in film, but she really did a lot more stage performances. She also started. It was kind of they sort of started figuring out that she had a lot of mental health issues. She was bipolar. She would have these like sudden outbursts and would be kind of violent and yelling at people. And then later she'd act like she wouldn't even remember what had happened. So that was an issue. Eventually in the 50s, she was in the play A Streetcar Named Desire, being performed in London. And that was a very big success. But even with that, there were the director of A Streetcar Named Desire wasn't totally convinced that she should also do the role in the film. But eventually she got the role and ended up winning another Best Actress Oscar for that. And that's another role where it's just, I can't even picture anyone else.
Yeah, it's another Southern Belle. It's basically if Scarlett O'Hara never regained her wealth and tried to carry on living the wealthy, decadent lifestyle and had to delude herself into believing that she could carry on that lifestyle without the money. It's interesting because of her history of playing Scarlett O'Hara to have her in this movie. But I think the reason she wasn't the first choice again was because she was in the London production, but this was first staged on Broadway, and all of the Broadway cast except for Blanche Dubois is in the movie. So Kim Hunter, Carl Malden, Marlon Brando, and then Blanche Dubois was played by Jessica Tandy on Broadway. And so they wanted to have the whole Broadway cast be in this film version of it. And again, like you said, she had to fight for this role. It was like interesting that her two Oscar-winning roles, her two most famous performances, she had to fight for them, and she had to fight to play a Southern Belle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In two different phases of American history. So it's very just interesting by itself, that fact. But her performance in this movie is just like haunted. There is a haunted quality to her in this film that it's magical, terrifying, and just tragic. She captures all of that in this character. Like, this is how you picture the character when you read this play. Have you read? I assume you've read the play, right, Amy?
I think I have. Again, this is something that if anyone took theater in high school, this was really crammed down your throats.
It was it's this. But when I read this play, like because I think maybe I did see the movie before I read the play, but I thought I had read the play also in drama class in high school before. I can't remember which came first, but whenever I read the play now, it's definitely like you can't see anybody else. It's such an incredible, like, she just inhabits this role. Like, she is this person in some way. And she was like a classically trained actress, I think. So she wasn't like of the method. Also, she wasn't a method actor. Like all the other people, they were sort of more, in what would come to be known as the method, is kind of the acting style that they did, where they were kind of living, they were trying to bring in personal experience to help connect with the experience of their character. And, the Royal Academy of whatever, that she went to in England. I can't remember what the Royal Academy of
Dramatic Arts.
Dramatic Arts. There we go. That style of acting very much teaches you that what you're doing on screen, like, you're just doing what the character's doing. So what is your character thinking and feeling? That's what you feel. Like there's no like think about that moment when you lost, there's not they don't teach you acting like that. They teach you to think like the character, to be that character and do whatever the character's doing, as opposed to this is what the character's doing. How can I connect with what this character is feeling? I will try to bridge that somehow with my own experience. So there's possibly a little bit of a clash in terms of their style of performance when they're being directed by the also problematic Elia Kazan. Luckily, this film is populated by actors who were very much the opposite of what he did during the McCarthy hearing. So I don't feel any shame in representing this film, because it really is a triumph of these actors more than anything else, I think, especially Vivien Leigh. I just, oh my God, like it's going to make me, this movie I always cry at the end of this. Of course, they did change the ending of the play for this movie, which the ending of the play is like even more devastating in a way, because I don't want to say it for people who haven't seen it. I just want you to watch it.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about that tomorrow.
Anthony, is method acting a good thing? I, as an actor, am not a fan, just because you're supposed to bring things from your own personal life, and that could kind of be mentally draining. And eventually, if you keep thinking of this one sad thing that actually happened in your life and you use that to make yourself sad in a scene, that memory is going to lose its effectiveness on you. I don't know. It could really be a psychologically damaging thing to do it.
Yeah. I think there are ways to incorporate elements of it. I think John Goodman is another actor who is considered a method actor, but I don't know if he actually did the same personal drawing from my experience thing. But he was known on the set of Roseanne, the show, to like, if his character had to be out of breath or sweaty, he would like run around the set like a few times to make himself feel out of breath. So when they would shoot the scene that they needed him to be like heaving and like really heavy breathing, he would already naturally have that going, and he would just act the character with the physical state that he put himself in a way. So there's other things that you can bring in, like, okay, that's not a terrible thing. That's not forcing you to like, remember that time that you ran a marathon and you were exhausted at the 13-mile mark. That is how you are going to be breathing for this. Like, it's like, you don't need to do that all the time. But I don't think anybody would do that exact example. That's just a crude example of what it is. I'm not someone who's the most perfect expert on it, but I don't think you don't have to completely throw all of it away, but there are some elements that you can probably bring in to use that are not going to sort of force you to confuse your real life and your memories with the character you're playing to get a performance. Like, I don't think that's always necessary. Obviously, Amy's performances prove that.
Each their own. Yeah, it just really depends on what the deal is. After Streetcar Named Desire, she continued to be in still acting with Laurence Olivier, still doing theater. She and Laurence Olivier divorced in 1960, and he promptly remarried. In addition to her mental health issues, she also suffered from tuberculosis for many years. And eventually that is what she died of. She kind of died somewhat suddenly. I mean, she was certainly ill, but kind of unexpected. But she died in 1967. She was only 53 years old. But her legacy has been that she's been one of the most talented actresses ever, one of the most beautiful actresses ever, which is something that she herself would say that she felt like that even kind of hindered her as far as what roles she was able to get. But you just can't take your eyes off of her when she's on screen. But
there's like a fierce, edgy quality to her. Like there's almost like a sort of cutting, like you don't want to mess with her quality, but she could so quickly turn that to tenderness and vulnerability so convincingly that you're like constantly in the same performance. You'd be amazed that, because she's playing the role, you don't see that as something that's drastic or difficult. But if you've ever acted and you've had to try to pull off some of these shifts in emotion that she pulls off kind of regularly in her screen performances, you'll have newfound respect for what she accomplishes on the screen. It is not easy. It's not easy to do that and make it emotionally honest and convincing. But she just breaks my heart in this movie so much. From the very first moment, you just get the sense of this broken human being who is trying to hold herself together using these, just by focusing on beautiful things and things that make her happy. And, it's the fragile emotional state the character's in comes through right away, just from her physicality, the way she kind of floats through scenes sometimes, in this very, realistic setting. It's one of the few movies that seems kind of another one of those restricted to a set movies that is still visually great.
Mm-hmm. This came out in 1951. Disturbed Blanche Dubois, of course played by Vivien Leigh, moves in with her sister in New Orleans and is tormented by her brutish brother-in-law, played by Marlon Brando, while her reality crumbles around her. This won 4 Oscars and was nominated for a ton of things. So one, of course, Best Actress. Carl Malden won Best Supporting Actor. Kim Hunter won Best Supporting Actress. This won Best Art Direction for Black and White. And then in addition to that, it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor for Marlon Brando, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Cinematography Black and White, Best Costume Design Black and White, Best Sound Recording, and Best Music. So this was a big hit at the Oscars.
Rightly so.
Yes.
It's a great film. It's a great film. It was an eye-opening experience to watch, because I saw this movie when I was 14. I read the play when I was about 13, but this is not an experience. This kind of milieu and this kind of story are not things that are common to somebody who grew up in San Diego and in Southern California. It was very interesting to see a movie that it showed poor people. This isn't commonly like most of the classic movies that you think of. You think classic Hollywood movies, you think of movies about well-off people in fabulous outfits, people who don't have money problems and don't live in, like run-down apartment houses. And even when they do, there's still a glamorized aspect to those settings somehow. Like, you never really worry about that character. You worry about the characters in this movie. You're genuinely concerned for their well-being, because this doesn't look like a happy existence for anyone in the picture. So it was eye-opening for me, because I was finally like, oh, so Hollywood can tell. There is a possibility for Hollywood to do this. And of course, once I did more research into Hollywood movies, I found a few more films. But usually those movies are not popular movies. They're not the movies that made a ton of money. They're not the movies that always win all the Oscars. The ones that really kind of dig in and make it uncomfortable and complex for you and don't give you easy answers, those and are not about rich people, tend to get ignored by everyone. So this is one that really just broke through, possibly because it was a Tennessee Williams play, huge hit on Broadway, amazing star quality with Vivien Leigh coming in and playing Blanche Dubois in this picture. So those things sort of pushed it through to the mainstream, so that everyone now knows this picture. And I think we're better for it. It's a great play. It's a great movie version of the play. There are very few performances of Blanche Dubois that equal. I don't think there are any that equal this one. There's one that comes close, and it was Gillian Anderson. She did it at the Old Vic in London, or maybe it was, I don't know if it was the Old Vic, but it was one of the major theaters in London. They did a revival of this play, and Gillian Anderson had lived in London and done theater there for many years now. And she played Blanche Dubois in this production. They actually distributed that in theaters, so you could watch this filmed version of this theater in the round production of it. And that was the only performance that came close, to this one. And I've seen a lot of versions. I've seen a lot of versions of this, and this one still eclipses them all.
Well, this movie is available on HBO Max. So go ahead and give it a watch, see what you think. Again, this is another kind of required viewing for anyone who likes film and appreciates good acting. This is just phenomenal all around. join us tomorrow for our discussion of this after the movie. Moving on to our 4 out of 5 movies about movies day. Tomorrow is Adaptation, which is a movie I'm looking forward to revisiting. It's been a long time.
Very long time.
Yeah, long time since I've seen it. So we'll learn more about that tomorrow. Please consider becoming one of our Patreons. Put the link over there in the comments. We most appreciate it. Check out our merchandising on Redbubble. You can get yourself some fun book club for movies swag. There's a whole variety of things you can get at all price ranges. Yeah, thank you guys for watching today. Hope you enjoy A Streetcar Named Desire. I've always depended on the kindness of strangers. And goodbye.